Alongside Rob Lewis and Brent Hubbs, I'm Austin Price for the Rocky Top Roundtable. Guys, Tennessee with Texas A&M coming up this week. Let's talk about quarterbacks first. We'll start with Harrison Bailey, 14 of 18 against Vanderbilt, completed his first 13 passes. Looks solid. I expect him to get the start, don't you, Brent?
Yeah, I think he definitely gets the start. Jeremy Pruitt's indicated this week that he definitely plans on playing two guys, but it doesn't feel to me like it's going to be as set in stone as to when that happens. I think it was pretty clear last week at Vanderbilt they were going to go to J.T. Shroud in the second quarter. And then they came back with Harrison Bailey to start the third quarter, even though Shroud was hot when he went into the locker room in terms of play. As for Bailey, I think, Rob, it's a simple matter of he's managed the game well. I think when you look at what you like about him, he's been under control. He's not gotten rattled about things. He's run the operation particularly well in his first two starts. Yeah, he's got to throw the ball better. He's probably held on to a couple of them too long. But it doesn't look like people don't know what they're doing out there or where they're supposed to be going.
No, to me, that's been the most impressive part about his actions so far in his two starts. Is it just doesn't look too big for him. He's comfortable. He's poised. He has good pocket presence. He has not put the ball in harm's way. Two starts so far without an interception. He did have the turnover at Vanderbilt on the fumble, but as far as throwing the ball, he's not forced it. He did a better job this week of pushing the ball downfield. I think that was the one knock against Florida. He was just kind of dink and dunk. But to me, the kid certainly looks like there's something to build on there. I would expect him to not only get the start, but if he plays well and the game's close, I think it's hard to play Shroud on Saturday.
Both games that Harrison has started, Brent, the offensive line has given up some sacks. I would venture to say that's part because, Harrison doesn't get him in the right protection all the time, and probably because Cooper has seen his first action, so you got two true freshmen in there. You're basically where the play starts every play. But the offensive line's done a decent enough job, and potentially could get Cade Mays back this week. We'll see where the ankle is later in the week. Yeah,
but they've got to protect better. Now, Florida was blitzing from all over the place. Once Tennessee got the lead over Florida in the second quarter, made it 7-3. Todd Grantham, Florida's defensive coordinator, said, we're not going to do this all day long. We're coming after this guy. And I thought that created some confusion up front with the offensive line, tight ends, backs in protection. There have been times that Harrison Bailey and J.T. Shroud have held on to the ball too long, and that's been a part of it as well. So I don't think you can lay it all on one position group or one collection of players or anything like that. But when you give up, I think, 9 sacks in 2 games, that's not good. And Tennessee's going to have to protect better Saturday against Texas A&M.
Well, and, we're seeing J.T. Shroud here. Obviously, he came out and he made some really good throws. This was to me a huge momentum throw heading to the half on a strike to Jalen Hyatt. But then he comes in the second half, and he didn't get in until Tennessee was in the fourth quarter against Vanderbilt, and he throws just an atrocious throw there where he throws the ball late. This right here is something that is kind of driven coaches crazy, but that's just straight off your back foot and just kind of heaving a hope.
Yeah, it's double coverage, and that's the kind of thing that Tennessee fans have been seeing from a fifth-year senior all year long, and that to me is what has kept JT from getting a real shot. He made a similar throw at Kentucky and got put on mothballs for 6 weeks, and arm talent is there. There's no question about that. Best arm on the team, but right now you're seeing a true freshman that has better command of the offense than he does. It has a better sense of where to go, and more importantly, where to not go with the football. Shroud is a tantalizing talent, but that throw, and like I said, the one we saw earlier against Kentucky when he threw the interception on the out route, are just mistakes that I imagine terrify coaches.
Let's talk about Tennessee's defense for a second. This is a defense that will face a Texas A&M offense. They've got Kellen Mond. He's hit and miss still, Brent. He's still not super consistent, although his on games are actually really, really good. But their ability to run the football and win at the point of attack on the offensive line is something that Tennessee's defense is going to have to be very leery of come Saturday at noon.
Well, I think Tennessee's going to have to sell out to stop the run because Isaiah Spiller's a good back. He finishes runs after contact. Tennessee's been good against the run the last 2 games. But this is a different running team than what they faced the last 2 games. Vanderbilt's depleted in their roster, and Florida just can't run it. They're just not very good in the run game. Now, I don't want to take away from Tennessee's effort in stopping the run, But this will be a different challenge. This is a really big offensive line that Texas A&M has. Spiller's been their most consistent weapon for them. I think he's averaging nearly 6 yards a carry. Tennessee has got to do a better job and got to answer the challenge of being able to stop Texas A&M's run. Now, Kellen Mond can do some things at tight end. They can do things in the passing game, don't get me wrong. But you can't let Spiller get going, and you can't let Mond get going with his legs and become a real factor with his feet.
I think it's a huge challenge. I mean, Texas A&M is the only team in the SEC average over 5 yards a carry, and they're averaging 5.5. So, I mean, they're doing it easy. And as you said, huge offensive line. They're right about 210 yards a game on the ground. It's, again, Tennessee has been good against the rush the past 2 games, but they've not faced the kind of challenge they're going to see on Saturday.
Jeremy Pruitt goes into this game. We've talked about it on the general's quarters. Got asked about it. I'm not really sure what he was supposed to say on Monday. Brent, nobody's come out and said he's definitely our guy. You and I are under the agreement that he's likely back next year, but depending on how this game goes, that could change that.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you haven't come out and said that it's done and he's for sure your guy coming back, and nobody's come out and given him that proverbial endorsement, then you got to think everything is still on the table at this point. So how does this team play this week? How do they perform? How do they go about their business this week? And what kind of week does Jeremy Pruitt have? We'll see. I again anticipate that he will be back, but in the world of college football that we're living in right now, with money people talking and having voices probably greater than they've ever had, you just never know. I mean, Auburn, I guarantee Gus Malzahn did not think he was going to get fired when he walked off the field after beating Mississippi State, and he was fired the next day. So we'll see. I mean, I expect Jeremy Pruitt and believe he will be back, but anything is possible. We've learned that around here the last 10 years for sure.
It's Tennessee and Texas A&M coming up Saturday at noon, the home finale over at Neyland Stadium. For Rob Lewis and Brent Hubbs, I'm Austin Price.